Take a look.
He asked me if I would cooperate in a portrait, and I said I'd be glad to. And then he explained that he was going to do a series of these portraits in preparation for a show exhibiting faces of the North Fork. In the process of talking with him, it came out that he was interested in suggestions of other people that would have an interesting face and also an interesting story.
Pearl Harbor, our west coast became a potential combat zone. But no one knew what would happen among this concentrated population if Japanese forces should try to invade our shores. Military authorities therefore determined that all of them, citizens and aliens alike, would have to move.
The Americanism of the great majority of America's Japanese finds its highest expression in the thousands who were in the United States Army. Almost half of them are in a Japanese-American combat team, created by order of the Secretary of War early in 1943. Some of the volunteers came from Hawaii, some from the eastern part of the United States mainland, where there was no mass evacuation. Hundreds of them volunteered while they were in relocation centers.
Went to Denver, took a train to Camp Shelby, Mississippi, in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I was in training for 4 months. Not enough time, really, to learn anything for combat. So I was doing everything, menial. It's okay.
Yeah, I thought about Neil a lot while I was deployed, boots on the ground. I haven't seen Neil since the days I followed him doing American Faces of the North Fork. You look, in 1998 and 99. I think we called each other once or twice, but I haven't seen him in person since then. I always wonder how he's doing, and I was happy to know that he was still with us. Friends from the North Fork told me that he's alive and well. Once I was back from deployment, I made a point to see him. No, he hasn't stopped doing what he loves. Yeah, I would think about his experiences, what they were like, being in Europe, hastily being trained to fight a war, while being implicated as a potential threat to the United States of America. And I remember, I was 9 years old when I watched this movie. So at a very young age, I became very familiar with the Nisei and those who served in the 442nd.
What's our regimental slogan? Go for broke. Speak in English for shoot the works. Pull up, chair, Lieutenant.
The model of the unit was called Go for Broke. It was a gambling term, such as to roll up the dice and give it all you got, and hopefully you get a good result. And it also reflected on their situation. Their families were incarcerated. There was no news of that ending. They may not return home alive. It was a gamble.
Watch that stuff, huh? Get your money down, suckers. They're all right. Go for it, bro.
Gee, break them up, break them up.
Well, Lieutenant, it's a rough one. The platoon you're taking over is just ready to start training, and as you may have noticed, our facilities are not all that they might be. We're short of officers, short of equipment, short of everything except trainees, and they're coming in by the carload. They're not Japs, they're Japanese Americans, me say.
The naming of the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, as you can see, it's pretty non-specific, but within the regiment, there were very specific missions and training for certain detachments, companies and detachments. Some companies were trained to do infantry operations. Other companies were trained to do armor support, artillery. They were trained to be a very versatile combat unit.
We were trained to fire anti-tank guns. We trained that sort of in Naples. So that was our job.
They were all mostly very young, Neil's age. You're looking at turning 20, 22. And, they were hastily assembled, they were hastily trained, to meet the new demand of breaking into Western Europe.
Anti-tank, we were part of a platoon in a company. So it's small, part of the regiment. We were a small little platoon, and we moved into Anzio.
Neil was trained in an airfield just south of Rome for glider transport operations, and basically it's transporting a vehicle with a mounted anti-tank gun or ammunition to one point to another.
Assignment for us anyway, it was mostly minor because we were not going in as part of a regiment. We were going in as a platoon in a little company.
I mean, most of these kids had no experience of combat operations, or who knows if they ever actually fired a weapon. It's questionable whether some of these kids actually fired a firearm.
I learned to drive a truck, to bring the gun out of the plane,
So the Army relied on the fortitude of these kids. They're all basically Neil's age for the most part.
One plane would have a truck, a little group joined that. Another plane it was an invasion by air.
In July of 1944, Neil's anti-tank company became attached to the 517th Airborne Regiment, part of the 1st Airborne. It was a very small regiment of airborne infantry.
We landed in Rome, and from Rome, in Rome, we were trained to use the guns from the truck, and we landed in a town just south of Marseille. That's now in France. We landed by air on a glider. we were not trained as,
They continued to train as they fought, and then they had after-action reviews and see what worked, what didn't work, what they could do better, and they just got better.
They didn't train you to be airborne.
We're not.
They should have made you guys airborne.
That's not I know.
Neil's anti-tank company was the only unit that was awarded the glider operations badge.
We were not infantry. We were not in the infantry. We trained to go and jump on a truck, catch a plane, and they dropped us in France.
When he landed in France, they continued to train as they fought.
We landed in just slightly north of Nice. We didn't lose anybody. A couple of them were hurt. The planes were not destroyed completely. So it was a very lucky invasion that we were put into.
So before you know it, he was doing airborne operations, mounting the vehicle, securing it to a glider or an aircraft, flying to a hot spot, dismounting the weapon, properly and hastily setting up the weapon for firing, supporting troops, moving casualties, providing security of troops in motion.
You know, you have little groups but join in with another small group. You come out of it not with a big, little scratch here, there. Eventually, we joined the regiment and we were taken up to northern France. You know, you have a Japanese regiment, Japanese American regiment, connected now with another army, big army, and another one. Oh, fierce battle. What is that battle with it?
Battle of the Bulge.
Right.
Bastogne.
That's where we went to. We went into.
You were in Bastogne.
But we were not in Bastogne,
Okay.
but south of Bastogne. Into the woods as well. Fierce, fierce. There we lost men. If you're wounded, you put it away in hospital. I was in hospital twice. When I was once there, and they sent me down to Marseille. That's now right near, southern France. Hospital, yes. Between Nice and the border, Italy. Italian border and...
Riviera? Monte Carlo?
Yes, right in there.
Nice.
But, nice but.
But you were hurt.
Hurt, yes.
Yeah.
But
How did you get
not
injured?
as hurt as the rest of the guys in the regiment. Because they got it up north. Oh. So when you ask me, tell me about your trip to, to France, or I can't go into it as deeply as many of the other guys who were connected to the busiest section of the group, because if you were with E Company, F Company, these guys are in a group connected definitely with Small on Fire.
Were you part of the unit that saved that lost battalion? In
Part of it.
Yeah.
But we were not, though, deeply involved, fiercely involved. We were connected with any tank, other responsibilities. They can pull you out completely fast.
I understand you were also under fire when you got injured. Were you under fire?
Yes, yes. But not as bad as going through as bad as the others. Our responsibility at that time was, fortunately, you take certain flights to jump in an airplane in an infantry company, anti-tank, and you fly into, and you fly back. You did a good job, yes. Lost some men, yes. But the rest of the American force, who were really, really involved with that region. That man was up slightly north and slightly south of, what is that, Belgium?
Baston.
Masson.
Yeah.
Yes. They were in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So my answer to your question about, hey, what was your responsibility like? I couldn't go into it.
Right.
In my case also, I had an opportunity that when I did get out, I was able to rejoin. I came out of the army when I returned to Hawaii from my trip from Europe, and I got my discharge and got out of the army in California. So I got a discharge when I returned to California, and then from there they sent me to Hawaii because I wanted to see my parents. They were still there. Got my full discharge in Hawaii. Gave me a promotion.
What was your rank?
Master Sergeant.
You were a Master Sergeant?
Yeah.
To be able to achieve that in a 4-year period, it's an incredible accomplishment to do that in the NCO Corps.
I didn't know you made that kind of rank. Wow.
Yeah. Because in intelligence, I was able to get back in the army for another year, and I was able to go to Manila, Okinawa. I got to Manila, and they asked me, "What can you do?" I said, I could interpret Japanese. I did some interpretation. I went to Japanese school.
But it looks like when you returned from the war, from when the war was over, it looks like you pretty much eased in back into the art world.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
500 proud members of the 442nd Infantry Regiment, mostly American-born Japanese, swings down Constitution Avenue in Washington for another ceremony in their honor. There are 3,600 Purple Hearts in this outfit, earned in the bitter battles of Salerno and Anzio. The Nisei marched smartly onto the ellipse near the White House, where President Truman, Secretary Patterson, and Admiral Leahy are gathered. Regimental colors are brought forward to receive the 8th Presidential Unit Citation held by the 442nd. Nisei hear President Truman's tribute.
You fought not only the enemy, but you fought prejudice, and you've won. Keep up that fight, and we'll continue to win. To make this great republic stand for just what its Constitution says it stands for, the welfare of all the people, all the time.
These soldiers, true Americans.
I left school when we were intern, and there's 5 years have gone by since I returned to school again. And I went back for another 2 years, finished it, and then came to New York. Well, we got married. Aiko was a schoolmate. I met her in school. And we came to New York, and I ended up working in Philadelphia for about 3 years. And then from there, we moved to New York. and I became director of design at Columbia Records. But I still really wanted to be independent. So when our three boys were finished with college, I went back to establishing an independent design studio. That didn't last too long. But that was the tail end of my professional career. But I continued painting, and painted since, and taught school, taught at Parsons, taught at Pratt. They're building a memorial tomb memorial in Los Angeles for the regiment. I'm on the board primarily because I worked for the memorial, design-wise and editorially. I was involved until we left. But I was never close to any group. I never belonged to any group. And if I was asked to join, I always I never got interested in joining any group. So working with the people to work on this memorial, I'm much happier here with my children, with my family, grandchildren, and to see them so mixed now. You know?